How's it going, everyone? Session here. Welcome to Dead by Daylight. Now, we had recently just talked about the stats in terms of perk usage from the killer and survivor's perspective, as well as the kill rate in regards to the killers and the survivor rate in returns to the survivors. Now, with the February update officially here, we are going to see what is incoming with regards to changes, balance, and improvements with the patch coming soon. So, first things off, it's time to make another WD developer update. In this post, we'll cover all the balance changes and improvements making their way to the game in the next major update. Killer tweaks. For this update, we've given a few of the killers in our roster both quality of life and balance improvements. We've identified a handful of killers that could use some small base kit improvements to help reduce their dependency on certain add-ons. There is a lot to go through, so we'll do our best to keep them brief. The pig. In a shocking turn of events, we decided to buff the pig. More specifically, we have made improvements to both the pig's ambush and crouch abilities. The goal with these changes is to make her ambush and stealth abilities more useful and make her less reliant on the reverse spear traps. So, they increased the ambush duration to 2.3 seconds. It was just 2. Okay. Decreased the ambush successful attack cooldown to 2.7. It was 3. And then they decreased the ambush miss cooldown to 1.5. It was 2. Okay. So her recovery on her ambush is faster, and whether you miss or hit, and it lasts a little bit longer, which is interesting. They increased her crouch movement speed to 3.8 meters. It was 3.6. Okay, a little bit faster on the crouch mode. And they decreased the time taken to crouch into just 1 second versus 1.3. So they did, okay, they made her movement speed a little bit faster while she's crouching, and also she can do it easier and faster, so that's cool. Reverse bear traps. The pig can no longer see the auras of jigsaw boxes. This is interesting. And reverse bear traps now have a base timer of 3 minutes. It was 2.5. Okay, see, so I actually kind of like this change. I feel like the pig always being able to effectively see where the jigsaw boxes are was one of the reasons why her kill percentage was on the higher side, despite her being like not like a high tier killer, if you will. The um the variants of those traps were honestly something like really obnoxious personally, and especially in my personal experience of playing against the killer. So I actually like that because like when she puts a reverse bear trap on a survivor and then throws them on a hook, and then when they get unhooked, obviously what she'll end up doing is instead of like monitoring just the generators, she'll monitor generators and the boxes. So like if there's a box near Jen, she has no reason to not just check both of those. Like she'll just end up checking both regardless. And then of course if the server is near the box, then obviously that kind of gives her a reason to tunnel and go for the chase regardless of whatever it is. And so that ended up making the experience versus the pig really unbearable. So the fact that they actually are hiding the aura of jigsaw boxes away from her is actually really cool. So I'm very grateful that that's the case scenario. The pig can now cover 15% more ground with her ambush attack, making it harder for survivors to break away from the loop. We also made missed attacks less punishing to encourage using ambush more often, and updated her successful cooldown attack to match the normal basic attack cooldown. Improving her crouch makes it quicker and easier to set up for ambush, and allows her to spend less time sneaking up on unsuspecting survivors. A handful of add-ons that decrease her missed cooldown or decrease her crouch time have had their effects reduced to compensate, as their effects are not part of her base kit. Cool. The Hag. The Hag's most popular add-ons decrease the setting time of her phantasm traps and increase the distance in which they can be teleported to. With that in mind, we have increased the maximum teleport distance to 48 meters. It was 40. That's a lot of space to cover. And decreased the phantasm trap setting time to 0.9 seconds. It was 1. Okay. Additionally, increased the time triggered phantasm traps remain active to 6 seconds. It was 5. And then they increased the time to take it away from the trap to 4 seconds. It was 3.5. Okay. So overall, her base kit of being the killer that she is just better overall across the board. Okay, these adjustments will make it easier to set and teleport two traps, reducing the reliance on add-ons that improve these aspects. The increased duration will also give her more time to respond and get in range when the trap is triggered. Meanwhile, survivors will have to spend a little bit longer to wipe away a trap, making it more difficult to do so during a chase. As for triggering traps, the Hag had some add-ons which increased their trigger range. In practice, this would be counterproductive since it would position survivors further away from the trap, making them more difficult to hit after teleporting. Interesting. Yeah, so I mean, there was moments where like what you could do in a hypothetical is like if you got the pallet stun on a Hag, but then in front of you after the pallet stun there was a trap settled, like, Hag tries to cover both sides of a pallet with a trap to kind of make it easy for the hit. But I think if you were quick enough, with reaction, you can get the stun and then start wiping the trap. And then by the time that the trap is done, she can actually be in the process of breaking the pallet, and then you can still be safe pretty much. Well, for the most part, you'll still be in danger, but like it'll be safer to doing that versus just trying to run and then have the trap trigger basically. So that's cool. Um, decrease the base trap trigger. There's a T missing. Range to 2.7 meters. It was 3. And the Bog Water, Bloody Mud add-ons, which previously increased the trap trigger range, have had their effects inverted and now decreased trap trigger range. Okay. Like the pig, the effects of some add-ons have been toned down now that part of their effects are always active. Yeah, so she definitely got stronger just by just having stuff be part of the base kit. Interesting. Okay. The clown. Between the two bottles, the Clown's Afterpiece Tonic is the clear favorite for most players. We want to show some love to the Afterpiece Antidote, making it a more compelling option. So we have increased the Antidote speed boost duration to 6 seconds from 5, and they decreased the Antidote activation time to 2 seconds from 2.5. So the yellow smoke comes out faster and it lasts longer. Okay. Additionally, they increased the base bottle carrying capacity to 6. It was 4. They put it back. The visual intensity of the Afterpiece Tonic affects to reduce motion sickness. Cool. This will allow the clown to clown around the map more easily and make the Afterpiece Antidote feel less awkward to use. The increased capacity will also allow him to keep up with chase for longer before needing to reload. Okay. I hope, I don't know, because the base kit of this being increased is like fine, I guess, but it's still obnoxious to deal with because it's so many bottles still. Like 6 is still like a lot though. But I don't, the thing is like at the base kit level, this is not really terrible, but it's really bad with his add-ons because I'm pretty sure the pinky finger still decreases it by 2. So him having 4 bottles again with the pinky finger is like really awful. And then that green add-on that increases it to 2 gives him 6 again. So like it's 8 bottles is a lot of bottles. I think this might have been a bit too much of a change. Well, he's still like not the best killer, but his kit in general is just rough. But the base bottle carrying capacity just makes it can be really annoying to deal with in a weird sense. So we'll see. The doctor, his practices may call his PhD into question, but he's been honing his craft. We've made the following adjustments to the doctor's shock therapy. They increased the range to 12 meters. It was 10.7. That's kind of unnecessary, but okay. I mean, I guess though, because like the stat allocation showcased that his kill rate was actually pretty low, but I feel like that's also kind of like a weird stat to really think about when it comes to this change. So we'll see. But yeah, they increased it to 12 meters from 10.7, and then they decreased the detonation delay to 0.8. It was 1. These changes will make a shock therapy attack feel more responsive and allow it to reach slightly further. Once again, add-ons which provide similar effects have been toned down to make the base kit increase the count. Well, yeah, because like they're like what this change is basically talking about, and this has kind of gone the same thing with Pig and Clown and Hag, is that there's add-ons that give them this stat regardless. Now it's just base stat instead of having to like use an add-on. So it's not terrible, but to have people have that add-on on a constant basis kind of sort of becomes an issue, like to a small degree. It's really gonna depend. So, but there's Doctor. Demogorgon, a short and sweet one for everyone's favorite upside down killer. They decreased the successful shred attack cooldown to 2.7 seconds. It was 3. So it comes into line with the modern basic attack cooldown, and the glasses and black heart add-ons have been adjusted to compensate now that the effects are incorporated into base kit. Cool. Out of hatches are no longer in sight, or maybe the entity sent you to a map with a poor line of sight, making the difference on a shot. The Huntress, to help her stay topped off and give her opportunities to attack in busier areas, the following changes. Her base hatchet capacity went to 7. That's gross. That's so many hatchets. Anyways, they increased the movement speed while holding a hatchet to 3.54. It was 3.08. And the wind-up speed is 10%. So literally, I don't know. Like, I understand that there's add-ons that make this happen, but I'm pretty sure that you can set her up to almost hold 10 hatchets, which is so many, before she has to reload. So I hope that this doesn't kind of come back and haunt people, because that's a lot of hatchets to be owning. So we'll see. The Mana Braid and Flower Babushka add-ons, which increase the hatchet's wind-up speed, have had their effects slightly reduced to compensate. Well, Yeah, but also like we'll see. And lastly, the Blight. Wanted to fine tune a Blight add-on, which has changed one of our recent updates, the Compound 33. It now limits the Blight rushes to 3 instead of 2. Okay, that's fair. All right. Mangled currently provides a lot of value throughout the match by slowing down survivor healing. At the moment, there's no way for survivors to remove the Mangled effect other than healing through it. We want to make the stats effect more interesting and introduce some risk and reward to it. The Mangled effect stats will now have a limited duration. Ooh. Mangled has a duration, which is the exact duration depending on the source of range between 60 to 90 seconds. And this maintains Mangled's effectiveness at slowing down healing while forcing survivors to make a choice. Do they spend more time to heal now or risk staying injured until the effect expires? Okay. So my guess is gonna be that the source of it's gonna range in terms of the time, which means that like Sloppy Butcher having Mangled as an effect will probably last like 90 seconds, whereas like add-ons might cost like 60. So like that's cool. So I'm actually very intrigued that that's their answer. It's bizarre to me though because I don't actually know. This is not a bad change, but this is not really going to make a difference in terms of how people utilize and treat me. Sloppy Butcher is still going to be an extremely powerful perk. Like that's not going to really be the problem. Um, hmm. Because it's not worth waiting this time. Because you know why? Because you can heal this time up faster than it takes for the effect to go away, you know? So literally, even if the like affectation of healing is reduced, it's still better to just heal through it, basically. Like you don't really lose because it might take like 30 seconds to fully heal somebody who has mangled, but that's better to have them be full and healed up at 30 seconds. I don't know the exact timing, but I can tell you with certainty though that it's faster than both of these times. So you don't really lose anything for still just going for the full heal, especially if there's two people healing one person. You'll breeze through that healing recovery check versus having to wait a minute or a minute and a half just to like reduce the effect and then speed the process up. The only way that this can actually become helpful is when there are just so many different ways that Mangled can be applied, and there's a reason where you would want to like maintain like an opportunity to have a deep wound, for example. Like that's the only real way I can see this being helpful. Where you actually would wait it out. Because I don't think that waiting it out actually matters. This is kind of a weird change that they had. Because I don't really think that any of the games that I played where the killer has used sloppy that I had it for longer than this amount of time. The only way I can think about it is if I somehow like lose the killer because of pallet stuns or something of the nature. But that doesn't seem possible. I don't know. This is kind of a weird change to me personally. I would have reduced the speed reduction of healing versus like it having a timer. I don't know. I'll have to see how it plays out. Because there's no reason to stay risky and injured while doing this. Like, I've always been an advocate for the idea that you should always just heal up regardless. It just makes life way easier because it's better to be healthy than to even like be injured and that sort of thing. We'll find out. Anyways, interesting change. I don't know if I like it though, but it's interesting. Blood Web improvement. In a previous update, we added the ability to automatically spend blood points to the blood web. To ensure the newer players took the time to familiarize themselves with the items in the blood web, the button was originally hidden until the character had been besieged at least once. Since it was added, we received many requests to show this button on other characters before they're besieged, so we're just doing that. Okay. So now you can just automatically do this without having to actually prestige. Not bad. The automatic purchase option will now appear in all characters' blood webs once any character has been besieged. What? Wait, what? The button appeared originally until after you besieged. So, oh, got it. So if I had one character besieged, then all the characters can use it, even if they're not besieged. Got it. Okay, that took me a minute to figure it out. Yeah. So like, if you bought the game today and you play for a couple hours and you prestiged Dwight, then even if you didn't prestige like Meg Claudette or whomever, then you can just auto spend. This a button appears for all those characters despite them not being besieged. Interesting. Okay, I actually don't mind that. I mean, it's nice though because like in the scenario that you get a new character that's like coming to the game brand new, but you've already besieged like a bunch of characters, like that's gonna be nice to have to just not really worry about it all too much. So that's cool. Okay, okay. I'm not opposed to that. That's a nice change. And that concludes the update. Kind of a shorter one for sure. I think honestly, like it'll be very interesting to see how the killer tweaks come into play when it comes to a lot of quality of life and balance improvements with regards to like taking add-ons and making them more base kit across a lot of the killers. Like when you think about it though, Pig is a I guess people consider Pig to be like a low tier killer, but just has a high kill rate. Um and that's interesting. So for them to actually like debuff her her bear traps, or rather to nerf her bear traps, but then buff her crouching and ambush, I would wager that that actually makes her worse because I think people actually benefit from the reverse bear trap more often than you realize. I personally would say that I've never encountered a death with the bear trap, even if it's like end game and I'm like the last one left and the doors are open kind of thing. I still like I don't encounter an issue where this trap actually kills me. So the fact that they remove the aura for her to see is a pretty big nerf. Even increasing the base timer is also like kind of a it's a buff, but it's also not though. It's a weird change. All in all, this is like a pretty like it's not harsh, but it's definitely a nerf for her. But they obviously compensated it by giving her a buff with the ambush and the crouch, which is still not going to be frequently used. It's encouraging it to be used, but it's not going to really be used still as a result. We'll see kind of how it plays out. The crouch is probably her best buff out of these two. Um, we'll find out. Hag definitely got buffed like crazy. It's a pretty decent chunk of buffs across the board. Like triggering the base trap range and also the distance to teleportation. Like I think that's definitely the biggest buff on her side of things. Um the Phantasm setting range is not too bad. It gives her like an extra 10% to it, which is like fine. But definitely the distance coverage is way better for her now than it was before. So that's gonna be a very strong change for her. Clown, obviously, I mean, I'm not gonna call it like a giga buff, but the buff of bottle capacity going back to 6 is crazy high. It's so weird because it's only adding 2 bottles, but when you think about the affectation of the hindered that it gives, the thing is like it's promoting the fact that they made the antidote or the ton or sorry they made the antidote stronger, right? Like the antidote is stronger, but they compensated this by adding more bottles. It doesn't really say like, oh, you can use 4 of the purples and then 2 of the speed, right? Like you're going to be using 6. No, people are still not going to use the antidote. They're going to just use the 6 tonic bottles. If it was up to me, honestly, there's 2 bottles. Not that they need to create 2 different pools of information in regards to like which bottle is used, but I wouldn't be opposed to them like trying that out because it'd be kind of cool for them to actually say that, oh, you have 4 slow bottles and 2 speed bottles, and then you can swap between the two sort of thing. But just giving a total of 6 to use either one is like that's a big buff for him. So there's that. Doctor overall buff is fine. It's like, you know, he's definitely going to be able to cover better loops with the shock therapy, which is going to be kind of a pain because he already covers enough with the 10.7. But I mean, I think he'll be able to cover even more. So we'll see. Demo, cool. Not, whatever. Huntress has also got like that crazy buff. Like for her to be able to hold 7 hatchets normally is a lot. And I'm pretty sure add-ons can basically give her, if not 10, almost close to 10. 7 was like a good sweet spot, I think, if you actually had the add-on. But now that it's base kit, I think the add-on for her to have 7 was a green one. So giving her a base kit green add-on permanently is very strong. And also with her movement speed as well. So like this is also, it may seem a little bit misleading, but this is also like a semi big buff. Like it's not giga buff, but it's like in between like giga and regular buff. So that's a really strong buff for her. And then Blight's there too. The Mangled thing, honestly, it's still weird to me. I personally don't really think I'm a big fan of it because again, changing the speed of the blood of the Mangled would have been a better effect change versus giving it like a time duration. I don't ever think that there's ever a real moment where you'll be in chase with the killer for this long and then healed up. I just don't really see that being a possibility. So, like, I don't really know. It's kind of hard to figure it out, especially because like you have to think about which killers really like care about this timer thing or not. Like if you have like a wraith or any kind of other mobility killer, like they're not going to really care about this, and survivors are not going to be able to think about whether they want to heal or stay injured. Like they guess will just deal with it, and the timer is going to be really irrelevant. So um, I don't know. It's kind of a weird change all in all in my mind. So update, not too bad. A lot of buffs for killers that we've got in the mists. Kind of a nerf to, I guess, Mangled. Like kinda. We'll see. And then the bubble thing is cool. So hey, there you go. Not bad for February update. So thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoy. Have fun with DBD. I'll catch you next time.